It's Monday, April 4th, 2016. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, some specific Hadokens.
No. Yeah.
That's actually a weird inside joke. The show is about HFS Plus and case sensitivity. Let's do this. So as you all know, I was at ZenkaiCon this past weekend doing a bunch of panels, and it was a really fun con. But
mistakes are made.
yeah, so on the way home, because Amtrak's the only way to get to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now
you could get there with a car.
Amtrak's the only way to get to Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
You can get there with a helicopter.
I don't think there's a helipad anywhere in Lancaster.
You could just a big empty field. I mean, come on. And you could you could walk and you could bike there. You could motorcycle there.
So on the way home,
And there must be a nearby river. Can you boat there?
our only real complaints about Lancaster, when we would go, because this time Scott bailed, it was just me going to the convention.
Good move by me.
That one, there's nothing open on Sunday, so you can't get any food and everything sucks.
Yeah, well, it's Jesus Town.
Yeah.
And we're talking Amish Jesus, not born again Jesus.
And that is no longer the case, weirdly. So last year on Sunday, there was nothing to eat. We went to the one restaurant that was open and just like drank beer and had crappy bar
I thought
food.
the only thing that was open on Sunday was like the donut place.
That donut place did not appear to be open. I couldn't tell, but the tap room was open. You remember the tap room?
Yeah, the one with the upstairs.
Yeah, there's two tap rooms now.
Okay.
There's two places called the tap room that are very similar.
Why don't you just call, if it's not the same owner, why don't you call one of them like the keg room or something?
Well, one's called the something tap room, and the other one's called the something else tap room. We just call it tap room. But
it's
anyway,
a really uncreative town.
So now there were like 7 or 8 restaurants. Basically, every restaurant that's new is open on Sunday. And every restaurant that was already there when we had last visited Lancaster was not open on Sunday.
I'm surprised there isn't like an ordinance that they have to be closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
It tells you who's in control of the
All the places that
town
open on
government.
Sunday were super hipster. They had basically the same kind of brunch food you get at like Sage or LIC Market here.
So basically, even Lancaster could not escape Shitty Pot Town.
Yeah, and you know what? Shitty Pot Town is real great when you have to visit the town for 2 days and you want somewhere to eat on Sunday. So I actually had a really good brunch. Like Sunday was fun. Sunday was a good day. But then on the way home, as you might have seen me tweeting, Amtrak hit somebody. Like my train just hit somebody.
No.
Now,
well, it hit workers because they fucked up.
No. You keep saying that. That is
That's
not
what the
happened.
news said yesterday.
No,
the news was lying.
An Amtrak train, like 8 hours before that in the morning, hit a backhoe that was working on the wrong track. It was just someone just pulled a backhoe up onto an active Amtrak line, and the next train that came hit it and killed everybody involved. At least everybody in the backhoe. No one in the train was killed.
So the Amtrak workers were killed.
I think it was just regular construction workers, not Amtrak workers. But so Amtrak's investigating why the fuck they were just like on the wrong track. But I was like, oh crap, maybe I'll just get home. Then I look online and Amtrak's like, no, your train's totally fine because you're coming from the Harrisburg line, so we'll bypass the actual derailment. So, all right, cool. I get on my train at the end of the day, and suddenly the train emergency brakes.
Like someone pulled the stupid thing?
No. So the train just hit someone on the tracks, totally unrelated to that other accident.
The train you were on hit someone.
The train I was on just fucking hit somebody.
On the same day.
Yes. So I learned a lot about what happens when an Amtrak train hits someone.
It sits there for a while.
No, but I learned about why it sits there for a while because the conductor was a super chill dude, and I was talking to him.
The conductor or the engineer?
The conductor. The engineer was not around to talk because he had to do something stupid. He had to. So the train hit a human being.
He killed somebody?
The train, no. So the train hit a human being. The guy survived who got hit, apparently.
What the fuck? Amtrak's go way fast. I mean, they're big.
He was severely injured, but he was not dead at that moment.
Okay.
The train could have just gone on,
and left this guy lying there?
No, ambulance came immediately. They took care of that. That was fine. The train could have just kept going.
With this bloody smear on the front? Pulling into Penn Station?
Yeah, actually. They pulled into Penn Station without cleaning it off.
Okay.
But the rules that Amtrak has to follow from the federal level are so ridiculous and overbearing that because the train was involved in any sort of incident at all, basically the engineer himself had to get off the train and walk the entire length of the train on both sides, inspecting the entire train and sign off on all these pieces of bullshit information along the way before they could continue. The train is over a half-mile long. It took him a long time to walk all the way around the train, and they weren't allowed to leave until he did it.
Couldn't you just like improve this with some technology? Like
you could improve this.
Cameras underneath the train.
You could improve this, Scott, in any number of ways.
A bunch of sensors. So like you're on an airplane, right? It's like, yeah, sure.
No, Scott, airplanes do manual inspections the same way.
I know airplanes do manual inspections, but in the cockpit, there's a bunch of lights that show you what's working.
Oh, train has that too.
Okay.
But because it struck something, even though it was a soft human who was very unlikely to have caused any damage to the train.
To the mighty train.
Yeah.
Could not be defeated by the squishy human.
Well, I mean, remember the rhino ads in Australia and Melbourne? Like, don't fuck around with the tram. It is a rhino. It is 6 rhinos. So, the 3 or whatever hour delay was 90% stupid Amtrak rules, and the actual crisis was dealt with almost immediately. And that was my night.
How did the ambulance get down into the train track area?
I don't know. It was right next to a road. Like, I guess it was easy.
People were walking up there?
People were walking up and down, like, going to the front to, like, gawk out the window and see what was going on. And
yeah, I don't want to go see dead bodies.
Well, the guy didn't die.
Severely injured bodies.
Yeah. But apparently this happens kind of often. It's called. They call.
How did the person get? It's like you can get onto the Metro North tracks. It's sometimes in most places hard to get on the Amtrak.
No, it's not.
Tracks.
No, it's not.
No.
No, pretty much anywhere. Amtrak, they're just there. Plus, remember the SEPTA
It's
trains?
usually a fence.
Remember when we were coming back from the SCOJO party and we saw 2 separate cars almost get hit by a SEPTA train?
Well, SEPTA is way like it's on the road. You can get near those tracks.
Yeah. So apparently they call if you want to find out how often this happens, it's called a trespasser strike. Because one,
the person was trespassing.
Yes, if you're on the tracks, you're by default trespassing.
And they got struck.
And apparently trespasser strikes happen all the fuck time. And a lot of times when Amtrak trains just get delayed for a long time, it's because of that. It's really common.
Why are people going on the tracks?
So the speculation that I heard from people, I will not name and imply who they were, and seems to be corroborated by a little bit of cursory follow investigation, homeless people.
They just wander on a train tracks?
It's like 80% homeless people, 20% drunk people.
Are they trying to die?
No, they're just following the train tracks and don't know better.
You don't know better than to not go near train tracks?
Scott, because trains are not well known in America to most people, you would be surprised how many people just walk on train tracks because they have no idea how trains work. They assume train tracks they find are abandoned. They just don't even think about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I assume train tracks I find are abandoned if, like, they're rusted and broken.
With Amtrak, maybe you might
Or if I have a map that says rail trail here.
But
the picture.
The other 20% is drunk people who just like walk off an Amtrak platform.
How many taverns, tap rooms are right near the train tracks?
Amtrak shares a lot of track
I feel like you shouldn't give someone a liquor license if they're right near a train track.
Amtrak shares a lot of train track area with New Jersey Transit.
Which you can drink on?
No, but there's towns near there, and drunk drivers are like when cars get struck, it's usually a drunk driver who just like parks on the train tracks. When people get hit by trains, it's pretty much always homeless people or drunk people.
Just to ban alcohol.
Suicides appear to be pretty rare, actually, compared to all those other ones. So I learned all this last night, and I didn't get home till like midnight.
Oh, glad I didn't go there. I stayed in New York where everything was good. The Mocha
otherwise,
Festival
ZenkaiCon was fun.
Nice Mocha Festival. Nice, it's small but good stuff.
Yep. I will return to ZenkaiCon, but if ZenkaiCon overlaps with Mocha Fest again, I'm not skipping 2 Mocha Fests in a row because I really like Mocha Fest.
It's okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about Mocha Fest.
Spent a few hours there, went home.
Yeah, did you get a haul? Some comics we'll talk about?
No, I just bought one comic which had this cat on the cover who had a knife in his mouth and was ready to kill somebody.
That sounds like something you would buy. That sounds like something we would both buy and be like,
I think it was just called like, no, kitty, no. And it's like, the cat just messing stuff up in their apartment.
So you got any news? Any technology news that doesn't involve trespassers?
Well, it's sort of a news. It's not even a new news. It's like a January news, but it sort of like came to a head, at least today for me personally. So Delicious, which is a site that I've been using.
Oh, yeah. It used to be del.icio.us.
It still is del.icio.us, but it just redirects you to delicious.com.
Yeah,
so this is a site that was made in 2003 by a super nerdy guy, Joshua something. I just remember his name was Joshua.
I think we did a whole episode. We used the shit out of this at RIT.
Right. So basically what Delicious is because, when you're using the web, right, there's 2 kinds of bookmarks you need. There's the bookmark of the site you go to every day, right? You just need a fast way to get there that's faster than typing it in. Or maybe it has a complicated URL and you don't want to type that in ever, right? Like the Amazon Web Services console, right?
Yeah.
It's like you could be, if you're working with Amazon Web Services, you might be using that every day. The login URL for that is like, fuck you. It's not like amazon.com/console, right? It's some nonsense. Especially if you've got to put like your account number in there and shit. Fuck that. So you use the bookmarks in your browser for that, right? But there are sometimes you just want to remember a URL. For example, I see a thing of the day on the internet that's not like a YouTube video, so I can't just like it to remember it, right? I have to like, you know, save that URL somewhere. And I don't want to use my browser bookmarks for that. That's like a big mess. And it's
also,
not,
browser bookmarks, like no one has made a good UX for that in modern era.
right?
Like,
And it's not.
changed.
They're not searchable. They're not saved anywhere. So delicious.
Well, no, you say that, but I mean, like Chrome syncs it across all my Chromes. Like,
sure,
that's fine.
but it's not super. Like it's not convenient for that purpose, right?
No.
So in 2003, Delicious solved this problem with a really simple website where you could just use a bookmarklet, which you'd make a real bookmark out of, and any website you were on, you could just click that regular bookmark and it would hit the Delicious API and create, you know, and save the URL of the page you were on. And you could also put a title, description, and tags, but it would automatically fill those in for you.
So think of this: in old Geek Nights days, I had a tag TOTD, which was things of the day. Then I had a tag Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So anytime we had to do a show, I'd be like, oh, what are we going to talk about on Thursday? And I'd go to the URL that was Thursday plus TOTD, Thursday plus GN News.
Right. There was
awesome.
That was the best. One of the best features of Delicious was that you could find things with multiple tags. So like you could just go to like delicious.com/ like music plus Evangelion, right? And you could search for things that way. Like anything has these two tags on it. You could find stuff there that you couldn't find on Google easily because it was things that human beings specifically like wrote down. Like imagine
we did do an episode on Delicious on November 14th, 2005.
Yeah, so 2005.
Tonight on Geek Nights, we consider TV over TCP/IP, Google Analytics, Douglas Rushkoff's new book, the Xbox 3...
Douglas Rushkoff has another new book, by the way.
The upcoming Xbox...
It's called Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus.
The upcoming Xbox 360 launch lineup. Then we discuss Slashshot, Fark, Delicious, and Dig. We called this episode Reading the Web.
All right, so Delicious, right? We talked about it. So
yeah,
anyway,
you talk about lazy show
Delicious
ideas.
was made in 2003. It was bought by Yahoo. Then in 2005 or something, right? And then in 2011, it was sold to some other company. I think that was in news then. Only in January of this year, it was sold to yet another company. That company, right? Even the previous company didn't do as good a job as even Yahoo or, you know, the original developer.
Yeah.
But the company that started in January has begun in like the past month or two, right? They start, you know, they didn't actually get working until like February, March, right? Really making Delicious bad. Like,
so it's all right. So I'll go to Delicious right now.
It still does.
Wait, why do I see all this like Twitter trending bullshit?
No, I mean that's always been on the front page.
I guess I've never been to the front page of Delicious before.
No, you never have. It's always had stuff like that. But anyway, you know, they just redesigned it more, and it's like it still does everything it always did, technically speaking, but it's been like broken at times or down at times.
Let's see, popular
they
tags.
They put way more ads on it than ever before.
Yeah, popular tags: AARP, Bible, real estate,
whatever.
Shoes.
I mean, the point is, Delicious is sort of like finally jumped the shark for
so
reals.
How? Like, what's wrong with it now?
I mean, you want to keep using that site now? I mean,
but like, as far as you told me, the site's been like this for a long time.
No, it's. I mean, it was bad, and now it's beyond the pale, right? So I switched to the next most popular thing this morning. It only took me like 10 minutes, which is called Pinboard. Now the problem with Pinboard is that it doesn't look as nice on the website. The website looks like a Craigslist styling, right?
Craigslist is successful for a reason.
But you don't have to go to the website because you can just get like an app on your iPhone or whatever that hits the API and does it that way. So Pinboard is not free. It costs money.
Ooh.
It's like $11 or whatever a year. It's got Flickr style pricing. But for $25 a year, you can get the Super Pinboard, which basically does everything Delicious did, only there's no ads ever.
All right.
And it's super fast. Like, its performance is like their goal. It's way fast.
God, if there was a Twitter that just cost $25 a year.
Yeah, I know, right? So anyway, it's super fast, and it does everything Delicious did. But if you buy this super version for $25 a year...
What could it possibly do for me?
It has this amazing feature that Delicious did not have.
What, does it find things of the day for me? It tells me what to do Geek Nights on?
No. What it does is it's archive mode. So anything you bookmark, it will actually download a copy of that page and save it. So if you make a pin of some like article, and then you delete that article or edit that article or mess with that article, or it becomes 404, you can go to your pin board and click on this button and see the permanently saved version of that site that you bookmarked. Whereas on Delicious, I loaded my Delicious backup into Pinboard, and it didn't take very long at all. It totally worked perfectly.
Every link broken.
Yeah, all the old links, most of them don't work. But Pinboard, even if you export from Pinboard, like all the data, they give you all those backups too. It's like those are yours. You're paying.
Ooh.
So it's like if you want to leave Pinboard, well, you can download all those cached versions of web pages. The only caveat is it's a 32 megabyte limit per bookmark. So if you like bookmark a YouTube video, you're not getting the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Right? And if there's like a giant JPEG or a whole bunch of them, like a big photo gallery, and they're all full size, you're not getting those.
Warning, 1.4 megabytes. Download with care.
Yeah.
So there is a fork. This is just kind of a weird. So
in the road?
I've been thinking about this idea a lot because someone pointed out very poignantly that Soylent is just ultra slim fast, but tech bros pretend that they invented it and they market it at men.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Also, they make it in shoddy, dangerous labs and with no oversight, and it's sort of a weird.
I'm surprised the
thing.
FDA hasn't looked into it yet.
I suspect
they're selling it as food.
Yeah, I suspect at some
in
point
the United States
the FDA will look into it.
I'm surprised, but why were they able to sell it before the FDA looked into it?
I don't know. We should find someone who can tell us how Soylent is not gone.
Do I know a person I could ask about this?
Yeah, we do perhaps.
Maybe.
We'll see what that person's opinion is. But this
I never thought to ask that person about this particular
But all
thing.
these ideas like fake food or vet meat or everything. But when it comes to fake flavor, like Americans like to drink garbage soda, the candy water. And they've ruined their sense of taste so much that they don't want to drink anything but candy water most of the time.
I don't drink candy water.
And they need to constantly drink candy water. So
I'm actually even drinking less juice than I drank before.
yeah, I drink mostly water and seltzer and coffee.
I'm only getting the high quality. I don't drink coffee either.
Why? Coffee's good for you.
No, okay. That's what they want you to believe.
Actually, pretty much every study says
Study
that.
paid for by coffee industry.
Nah, but there's a lot of evidence actually that moderate to high intake of coffee has a pretty strong correlation with not getting Alzheimer's.
Sure, right.
Yeah, or at least not getting dementia in a general sense. I don't know if it was Alzheimer's specifically.
Yeah, okay.
And all the negatives.
Just keep justifying your poison. Right?
What about water? I mean, with Flint, you never know.
I'm drinking New York water.
Yeah, we should test our water and see.
You can get a free water test. Call 311. They'll send you one.
So, but we invented to deal with this problem fake sugar, which, like people don't think a lot about diet soda, but when you really think about it, we design chemicals that taste like things our body wants, but yet are indigestible. It's like we're drinking sawdust.
Oh, you can just use MSG, which is actually totally okay for you.
Oh, yeah, but it's a similar, but that's a flavor that the body also will process. It's just not super caloric, or I don't know if it's even caloric at all.
I don't think it's caloric.
Might be a little caloric. I mean, you'd be surprised what things are at least moderately caloric.
It just makes things taste savory.
All right, Scott, how many calories do you think are in like a shot of vodka?
Vodka?
Yeah. Or like grain alcohol.
I mean, there's no calories in the alcohol part.
There are. Welcome to nutrition.
It's only the potato part.
No, it's the alcohol part. Alcohol is nutritive.
But that's not something that like what? I mean, it's just your liver does that, not your. It's not something that like you would digest and absorb in your intestines. It's like it goes into the liver, and then the liver enzymes break up the alcohol.
Scott,
that's not giving you any calories.
1 ounce of vodka, 64 motherfucking calories.
That's all the potato part.
No, it's not.
I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense.
Anyway.
Chemically speaking.
So
it can't be just the ethanol. If you just drink, how many calories are in a shot of like Everclear? 200 proof.
There, I'll type it in right now. Ethanol.
Yeah. It's got to be 0, right? You could spell it properly.
7 calories per gram of pure ethanol.
Where does it come from?
What is ethanol, Scott?
It's just alcohol.
Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, so we're also the people who invented Olestra. Do you remember Olestra?
Yeah, didn't that make people like have diarrhea?
Yeah, so it wasn't. So the deal with Olestra is that it was a fat.
But it was a fat that didn't break down, so it went straight through your intestines.
Yeah, it was a fat, so you taste your nice fatty nonsense, but
it just went straight
through. It would
through.
go right through your body like a tube and just come out the other end.
Fat is greasy, so it made your shit mad greasy.
So I was reading actually about Olestra a couple days ago.
And also, you didn't get your necessary intake of fat if you just ate that shit.
Even worse, it might have actually caused other nutrients to leach out of your body. And
yeah, because other food is just gonna slip right out, like on the slip and slide.
Slip and slide.
Right, it's like food that would have stayed in the intestine and gotten digested and absorbed. Instead, whoop, right out.
So, the only reason it caused all that, like it's
like
a
you're not
dumb
gonna
idea.
get too much nutrition even if you eat like a salads all day and like the most delicious best salads. If you're also eating X-Lax, right, it's not gonna help.
So basically, Olestra wouldn't have been this problem that it ended up being, except for the fact that the people who were using Olestra chips, like they'd eat Olestra chips because they didn't want to get fat, they would eat so many more chips than anyone even reasonably think the human would consume, that is why they're having such a problem. They were basically ODing on Olestra.
So that's how they got on the shelves to begin with, because the people that tested them tested a reasonable amount.
They were like, what human being will buy an entire extra large bag of chips and eat all of them in one sitting? And apparently
the ones that are really fat, which are the ones that are
buying Olestra.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
So here's I never imagined that this would be yet a third way to go. This is edging into, this is one step away from, why don't we just put a chip in your brain that makes you taste whatever we want you to taste?
Okay.
Yeah, because you could do
I'll
that.
take that.
Yeah.
Then I could save a lot of fucking money.
Then I'll hack it and poop taste. Send me a Bitcoin or poop taste.
Well, I mean, you can go to restaurant websites and taste their food before going to the restaurant.
Yeah, and then I hacked it. You trust a restaurant's website to not get hacked with poop taste?
No, I'm going to hack all the restaurant sites with poop taste.
Remember that time at RIT when we printed goat's eat all those printers just kind of randomly? It's going to be that, but with poop in your mouth.
Did you see that the asshole weave guy sent he printed things around?
Oh,
he
printed all that racist nonsense.
Yeah,
around
he printed
the world.
racist nonsense around like every open printer he could find in the U.S. or whatever.
Yeah, fun fact, guys. If you just use Google right, there are so many unencrypted public webcams of stuff you probably don't want to watch.
No, I think there's a site that's like a roulette. Like you just click next and it finds a webcam and you watch it.
I was playing with a site like that at work the other day, and you know what I mostly found video of? It was cameras pointed at pumps in factories.
There's a lot of those. Yeah.
So I guess if the pump breaks, you'd be like, "Well, I guess that's the one that's broken."
I've worked on like pump monitoring, stuff. It's like that's a big deal because like in factories, like the pumps are the things that need the most looking at, right? Because they're constantly have moving parts. They need to be lubricated and powered, and that's all. If you're in a factory that's like mostly doing its own thing, I think the one we were working for was like a corn syrup place, right? And it's like. That's the most important part. Everything else is like tanks. You don't really. It's like, does a tank have a leak or not? If it does, we'll find out pretty quick, right?
Even when it was at IBM.
So they needed all kinds of stuff, like monitor the temperature and the vibration and all this, all kinds of things on all pumps.
Most of the IT work I was doing at IBM, like on that factory in the fab, was not to add to the things that are actually directly making the chips. It was monitoring all the parts of the process, so you detect if like a pump broke or like something weird happened somewhere, or usually like yields go down. You're like, well, why? And then you have to look through the whole system to figure out what changed. This is a fork that uses varying frequency electric currents, so when it touches your tongue, it can give you a basically like a binary of salty tasting and sour tasting.
Oh, so the fork is pretty limited. It can't be poop taste?
It's not poop taste yet.
It can't do any taste. It can only do this. It's pretty much just current on-off.
If you use it to and level, I think frequency. I didn't read the whole paper yet, but basically.
So it gives a salty taste, right?
But already, think about how useful that is. So people who have heart issues where maybe they need to really cut their salt intake, as much as you should not eat a lot of salt,
you should still eat some salt.
Yeah, but also
a lot of people like try to avoid salt too much, and that's also bad.
Well, you probably should because all our food has way too much salt in it. So,
well, I mean,
if you try to avoid 100% salt, you'll probably take enough salt in to be okay anyway.
Right, but I mean, first of all, you got to get the iodide, right? The thing is, people are always thinking about, when they think about salt, they think about the salt like when they're shaking salt onto food, and it's like, that's actually, like, if you shake salt onto food as much as Blue Apron tells you to, that's actually not that much salt, right?
No.
But if you eat, like, a bag of potato chips, yeah, that's way too much salt.
Yep.
The salt that's, like, in food you buy that's already made is too much
But
salt.
think about this. Say you want to eat your awesome salty dish, but you're not allowed to eat salt because of a medical condition. this would basically make your food taste salty if you use this fork to eat it.
Sure, and it's not even like Olestra where you're taking in something into your body. You're just not. You're just tickling the tongue only.
So that's why the reason I brought this up is when it came to Olestra and Diet Cola, they feel vaguely disgusting to me because it feels like this weird subversion of our body's desires. Like we trained ourselves to like something bad, and then we make a bad thing to consume so we can continue to experience that sensation. This is just VR. This thing, this fork, it's just VR. It's not sight or sound. It's just tongue.
Kinda.
Well, no, it's AR because you're not just gonna like carry it around in your mouth. You're gonna use it to augment the food you're eating. So this is AR, not VR. You gonna disagree with me? Yeah, this is a topic here.
Whatever.
There's room for debate. That whole
The point is, I don't need the salt version. I need the sugar version.
Yeah.
And that would also, a lot more people have diabetes.
No, I need the sugar cookie version. I put it in my mouth and I taste sugar cookie.
I'm hacking that with poop taste. That'd be the greatest. Like if I could somehow get it to where like this cookies, and if you steal them, they taste like poop. But if I eat them, they taste
like DRM on the cookies.
That's right.
Well, wasn't there that company that's claiming they're gonna, if you pirate stuff, they're gonna hack into your computer and like take it for ransom?
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes down in the courts.
Go for it.
So I got one other news because this will affect our listener more so than most people because this only affects insufferable pedants. The AP Style Guide has decided that the word internet and the word web and the World Wide Web no longer deserving of capitalization in modern usage.
Okay, I agree that World Wide Web should not be capitalized because the World Wide Web is not a thing.
Well,
right?
I agree with that, but I want to qualify that by saying that the World Wide Web was a thing and we killed it and it no longer exists.
It was never a thing.
It was a thing.
All you're doing, right, is
there was a time when the internet was just a collection of static web pages that were hyperlinked to one another.
That's not true at all. In fact, the web came way after the internet started.
Yeah.
The internet, that's the problem.
Fine, the consumer internet. You want to get pedantic? Let's go.
No, that's not true at all. In fact, the shit like Prodigy came out for consumers way before the HTTP.
Yeah. And the World Wide Web was a revolution beyond that.
No, the World Wide Web is not even a thing. And the problem is the fact that people created the term World Wide Web to refer to web browsers and HTTP made people think that the entire internet was HTTP and web browsers, and that they don't realize
because
there's all these other protocols for communicating over the internet.
But see, the only reason most people thought that was was right as the growth of people accessing internet technology was skyrocketing. So pretty much within a year of the World Wide Web existing in any practical sense, probably the majority of people using the internet in any way had only ever experienced it.
Anyway, but I disagree that internet should not be capitalized. The internet is a thing. And if you want to if you want to say that Chicago should be capitalized with a capital C, then the internet, as in the one and only big internet that the whole world is connected to, should be capitalized with a capital I.
So they pointed out that the reason for this is that very few people, the word internet is used most often without the definite article. It's used as a descriptor, like an internet blah.
Then you should definitely lowercase it in that case.
Yeah, and I will do that. But I agree with you. I will continue to capitalize the internet.
If you want to.
I'm referring to it as the place where my culture lives.
Right. If you want to talk about the internet as in the one, then you need to use a capital I. But, if you want to talk about, un-internet, right?
Well,
or
I think
internet
that's the point.
as an adjective,
as we
internet something.
As we discussed before we started recording the show,
no one
ever in the modern era, for decades, has actually said internet to mean networks that were connected together that are not on the internet. The word intranet ended up encompassing everything that's not on the internet.
Yeah, people use the word intranet to describe internets when they shouldn't.
Yes, because intranet now just means private networks.
But you know what? I'm going to disagree. I think if you're talking about, say, an internet protocol, right, for example?
Yeah.
Well, you don't
capitalize highway system protocol. The highway system's not capitalized.
That's true, but if you
whoa, but interstate I think is.
Well, I don't know about that.
If interstate,
you're thinking about the wrong thing. If someone writes New York bagel, you don't uncapitalize New York because it's being used as an adjective. You want to talk about Chicago pizza, which isn't pizza. Otherwise, it would just be called pizza and not Chicago pizza. You still capitalize Chicago.
Ooh, there's a whole.
If you want to write, Turkish citizen, you don't uncapitalize Turkish.
But as much as I'd like this to be true, we can't actually live in internet yet, and it's not a sovereign nation.
That doesn't mean anything. It's still a proper noun. It is a specific one and only thing, and not one of, it's like when you talk about a pie.
So, Scott, as far as I can tell, the style guides, you have to capitalize the word interstate because it refers to the interstate road system in the United States. So if interstate's capitalized...
I think if you were talking about the interstate, but not interstate.
But no one uses that terminology. And if you refer to a specific road, like I-10, you have to say Interstate 10, capitalized I.
Well, but if you were going to talk about, like, a rim, right? Not the rim, but a rim. Would you uncapitalize rim in that case?
In that case, yeah.
Well,
I would.
Maybe, I don't know.
Except there's no generic case for rims yet.
I'm just saying the AP got it wrong. That's all I'm saying. They're trying to disrespect internet. We should uncapitalize AP. Just be like app.
There are a lot of deleted Wikipedia articles and arguments about the deletion of Wikipedia
Is someone
articles.
trying to go around all of Wikipedia uncapitalizing internet now?
The category was interstate highways in Alabama. And apparently someone was trying to make a page, interstate highways in every state.
Oh, why don't they just make the interstate highway system page?
I gotta back away from here.
And have a section to split up the states.
I just found a fascinating world that I do not want to step too much deeper in because I'm going to read these pages all night.
Every Wikipedia article has something like this. If you just click on the discussion tab, the talk tab, that's why I don't click on that shit.
Yeah, go for it. There's clearly no consensus in the use of uppercase H. What H? Why are they talking? Okay.
For highway.
Yeah. Highway is not capitalized. There's some people here who really want it to be capitalized. Their arguments are stupid.
Well, if I was talking about, for example, the Scott Rubin Highway, you would capitalize highway. But if you're talking about a highway, like I'll take the highway, and then even though it's high road in that song, but you would lowercase.
Well, yeah, you already undermine your own argument.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna take a ride on the highway. I would lowercase highway in that sentence.
But I guess the useful categories today are intranet, internet is the internet, and then extranet is just basically replaced WANs, except they're private. They're only really used by enterprise companies.
They're really just intranets when a company has multiple campuses.
Or between companies. Like a bunch of companies will say...
Like, if you're in the Google office in New York, you need to be able to connect on the same network to the Google office in California.
That's just a WAN. An extranet is more like, say Google, Amazon, Yahoo, and 10 other companies said, we need to all communicate with each other.
Yeah, you know what everyone uses for that? The internet.
Yeah, well, no. So finance, and there are a bunch of other industries, they use extranets where they sort of all agree and just directly connect infrastructure to each other and make their own internet.
I mean, do they do this like in a single data center, or is like Verizon helping them out?
They do it across data centers, and they work with multiple vendors to make it happen. But the idea is you can connect through these networks to other people in a semi-public fashion within the network with varying levels of security.
Does it have its own DNS?
It's basically an invite-only private internet.
Does it use IP?
Basically, yeah.
Do they have their own DNS?
Yeah, actually, because everyone's running their own DNS internally for all this. It's basically a bunch of intranets.
Like, yeah, it's like, how do you fucking find anybody?
It's a bunch of intranets connected together. So actually, extranets are what the generic case of the word internet was, but because we don't use the word for that anymore, we call it extranets. So extranets and intranets are lowercase I. The internet is uppercase I. All other uses of internet are lowercase I. That is my position.
Whatever. I'm going to keep an internet uppercase.
Also, you're not allowed, per the style guide, to use the 2-letter abbreviations of U.S. state names anymore because it's confusing to people who don't live in America, and apparently it's confusing to a lot of people who live in America now.
Tell me, what is the 2-letter abbreviation?
What, Montana or Maine? Those are the ones that mess people up usually.
For Maine.
Maine is M-E, right? Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm reasonably sure.
What's Missouri?
M-O.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I know my shit. Because Montana is MT, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Maine is ME, so I'm good.
And then Mississippi.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I? Crooked letter, I, crooked letter, crooked letter, I, humpback, I. Things of the day.
Oh, shit, what was my thing of the day?
So,
all right.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Angola's Wikipedia pirates. This is a cool thing that's happening, but there's a whole...
This is too weird. Angola, Wikipedia, pirate, those are three words that don't go together.
Oh, and it relates to digital colonialism.
Oh.
So the article is fascinating because basically you're going to hit a bunch of topics that are themselves fascinating by looking at this. And this is sort of like a whole of stuff that you probably have not encountered. But the angle, the entry point to this whole article is that Wikimedia, so Wikipedia and, like all the underlying...
Wikipedia is run by the Wikimedia Foundation, which does other things also.
Yeah, so it's not just Wikipedia.
But mostly they run Wikipedia.
Like, they have hosting for, like, public domain stuff.
They do a lot of shit.
Yeah. And Facebook got together, I think some other companies involved too, to give Angola free access to their websites, but not the rest of the internet, the whole net neutrality thing. But they did this. Now, yes, and while I think that's shitty, if you
India said no. India took the smart route.
But India has a lot more developed infrastructure than Angola in a lot of ways.
You should have said, give me the whole internet.
So anyway, this exists. So if you're in Angola, you have free access to Wikipedia, Facebook, and a few other things. I'm just going to quote the article. So naturally, Angolans have started hiding pirated movies and music in Wikipedia articles and linking to them on closed Facebook groups. And the degree to which nerds in Angola have hacked Wikipedia to hide pirated material is amazing. Like copy-pasting an entire novel into a rarely read Wikipedia article, telling other people, and everyone just goes to that article and copy-paste it out for as long as they can before someone fixes it. And this
Good job, Angola.
Yeah, this is widespread and amazing.
Maybe you should give people the whole internet next time.
Yeah. So never discount, as much as stuff goes out around the world.
Go Angola.
Never discount the fact that if there is a place with nerds and they have access to an internet
go nerds,
of any kind,
it's your birthday.
Nature finds a way.
Go Angola. You're my heroes. Keep it real.
So you got a thing of the day?
Like the 90s.
You got a thing of the day?
Yeah. So here is... See, I don't know how many people listening have used an Apple II computer. I suspect all the old ones. I have some in my closet. I have one in my closet. The Apple II computer, the original one that cost like $1 zillion. I think it cost like over $1,000 originally, and no one could afford that in 1980 something. That was like $1 million in 1980, whatever. It had a problem in that you could only use cassette tapes with it, which is like the style of the times. So you would plug in a cassette tape, rewind it, press play, and it would load the whole program into the Apple II, and then you could use it, right? And that sucked. They wanted to use discs with the Apple II. And using discs with the Apple II, well, they didn't even have a disk drive originally. Now they have one, but they didn't originally have one. So Steve Wozniak made the hardware for it, and his hardware was like this genius hardware. I have some of the boards that do this. Because I have extra floppy drives.
Yeah.
And I have the exact boards that like the Steve Wozniak design. And basically it's the genius of that design people don't realize is that up until that point, floppy disk controllers are mad expensive because they were all hardware. Right? Everything was done in hardware. He moved the complicated bits into software and put an IC on this board.
I just want to point out that similar things were done later to dramatically opposite effect. Remember the Wintel modems?
Right, and this is why, like, the Apple II, like, there were other computers that had floppy disk drives, but the Apple II was, like, the first time where, like, everyone could have a floppy disk drive and have a bunch of floppy disks because the floppy drive was actually, usable and cheap enough, right? The controller boards were cheap enough. So, but the problem was they had this thing, but they needed... Like, they didn't need an OS, but they needed, like, a file system kind of control, there's some sort of disk operating system, some way to actually use floppy disks, right? To make files, to read and write from them. And that didn't exist. So actually, no one at Apple wrote that. I found out from this article here that they hired someone to do that from, like, another company in the same, like, little campus, whatever. And that was the Apple II disk operating system. And if you've ever put like an Apple II game on a floppy disk into an Apple II and turn it on, it'll say like Apple II DOS version something something, and then the game will start.
Yep.
Right? And it's not really an operating system. It's just really like a disk controlling kind of thing. But it also like has a basic interpreter and stuff like that, and it lets you read and write files and whatever. And finally, the listing for that disk operating system is now publicly available for non-commercial use. You can read it yourself. And what's really fascinating is I've always wondered this, like, how did they write this to begin with? It's like, I can use an Apple II writing in BASIC once the disk operating system is loaded. Wouldn't know how to write, at least without a lot of help, something like on a blank Apple II. Like, I don't know how to interface with that at all. Like in assembly, like, okay, I wrote
like
some Apple.
What do you type until things happen?
Right. It's like I wrote some assembly for Apple II. How do I assemble it and get the Apple II to run it? I have no fucking clue. Apparently what they did is they did it on a different computer with like punch cards, right? And then that computer did the assembly. The Apple II couldn't assemble its own assembly, right? They assembled it on a different, more powerful computer, and then printed out on like on a long tape, right? And then we're able to load it on the Apple II.
Nice.
So here's the listing for that assembly that you have to assemble on a different non-Apple II machine.
Oh man, it's just PDF here. Oh man, look at all this
check it out. I mean, it was the printed. It's a listing. It's not the code in a file. It's a listing of, like they used to do that, print out books of code, and you would turn from page to page reading the code.
Yeah.
So here you go. Enjoy.
In the meta moment, we were just at ZenkaiCon. Well, at least I was at ZenkaiCon.
I was wise enough not to go to ZenkaiCon. I went to the Mocha Festival.
Convention is PAX East, which is coming up pretty soon. A few weekends from now, April 22nd, 23rd, 24th. On the 24th, on Sunday, we will be presenting, sometime in the afternoon, Atari game design. And that's one of our panels that is definitely not on YouTube anywhere. It's also a pretty good panel, so stay tuned. Otherwise, stay tuned for whatever news might come of other conventions we're involved with. And yeah, the next book club book is Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake. I'm going to start reading it within a week.
I bought a copy already.
I'm going to finish the 12th book of the Wheel of Time because I'm mostly through it. And
I didn't start reading it, though.
Yeah. So I'll start reading in about a week, so you got a little bit of buffer.
This Saturday, April 9th, is the Netrunner Regional Championships in Massachusetts, which I bought a ticket to. We'll see if I go there.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's in Cambridge near like MIT areas. So I have at least possible ways of getting there, but it'll be weird going to Massachusetts and Boston area like 3 times in 1 month. Anime Boston, Netrunner Tournament, PAX. It's just like, oh my God.
I once went to London and then went to Hong Kong on a separate trip and then stopped in London.
Okay,
again
so the
on my way
Netrunner Tournament
home.
is the 9th. Then there's nothing the weekend after that. And then PAX is the weekend after that.
Yes.
So actually, it's doable.
Yep. Though remember, PAX, this is not the 4-day PAX like Prime, and Sunday's not always super hoppin' just because, Boston is not the best venue for the outside of con hoppin'. There'll be some hoppin'. Thursday, day and night is going to be really hoppin'. So if you want to expand your PAX East scenario, you want to get there Thursday, like early afternoon.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually I might go Thursday and like Sunday. Try to go home late Sunday.
I was thinking about that too, but like real late on Sunday. I might still take Monday off work,
maybe,
but I'll leave late Sunday. But then again, it's nice to just go to bed after a PAX.
We'll see.
Like there's something, I've gone to a lot of conventions where I leave like at night because I don't want to stay like through the whole thing. But if it's a big con, especially a con that I do a lot
the thing is, for the cost of a hotel room, right? For much less than the cost of one night in a hotel,
yep,
I could take a cab from the Bolt bus to my apartment and luxuriously get home at Sunday night.
Or Scott, for the price of another night in the room,
that's something I would never do.
I could take the Acela home and actually be home like real early, like way earlier than you'd think.
It's not going to save that much time. It's going to cost a lot of money.
It doesn't cost. I take the Acela all the time.
Compared to the Bolt bus, which I'll probably buy tickets for tonight, that's like $12.
I'm probably going to buy those tonight too. But if I was going to take the Acela home, so
it's going to hit someone and I'm going to be home first.
The Acela, if it hits someone, they might not notice.
Oh, it doesn't go that fast.
No, it goes pretty fast though.
It's not Shinkansen.
Acela's been going pretty good.
It's not
lately.
even 1/5 Shinkansen.
Also,
speed.
Scott, it's the money part of Amtrak. It's not the Pennsylvania part. All right, so Scott tells me he's been having trouble with HFS Plus.
Well, okay, so I don't know if people realize this, but computers have different file systems that they use, right? Like all your CD-ROMs have like ISO 9660 or whatever the fuck it is.
Yep, or like in the old days, like on Linux, it was EXT like
and
2.
all your floppy disks use FAT16. And all your USB sticks probably using FAT32.
Yep,
which is what Windows 98 used.
Well, remember the old days, FAT32, and then when people started using, a lot of people were afraid to leave FAT32 because the newer file systems on Windows were not accessible on Linux, and those grognards
They are
really,
now.
Now they are. Now NTFS just works fine.
Yeah, NTFS is what your Windows computer uses. And your Linux machines, you could use anything the fuck you want, but you're probably using ext4 if it's modern, which is pretty great.
I still see a lot of systems that default to ext3, and I don't know why.
They're just old.
Well, they
have old kernels.
Yeah, it's always people installing like some old version of Arch somewhere for some stupid reason.
Arch usually does the newest everything.
Old version from a
there's
CD.
no such thing as old version. It's one of those rolling distros.
Yeah. Well,
anyway. Some people use XFS, some people use ZFS, whatever. But Macs, OS X, the brand new MacBook you buy today from the Apple Store, uses a file system known as HFS Plus, which is, I guess, slightly better than HFS. And HFS Plus, even the plus one, is garbage. It is like, though, it's worse than Fat. Maybe it's not as worse as FAT32, but it's
so tell me why, because I actually I don't know a lot about HFS because I've never really.
Well, really,
with it.
I mean, there are many problems with it under the hood that no one cares about or will notice, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could say this. I used to, it's funny. Back when I cared a lot more about
it's not
going to
give you the
desktop,
performance or the safety of ext4, but and all these kinds of things that no one cares about.
But I used to be I really like when I made a Linux machine, I thought a lot about.
Well, if you're a Linux user and you're not just doing defaults using ext4 for everything, you have to think about file systems. You're like, you know what? I'm going to put all these giant videos on this drive, so I'll use XFS.
Yeah,
and I have to think about what my block size is going to be and stuff, right? Whatever.
Yeah, you thought it mattered. It usually didn't actually matter that much.
The main problem with HFS Plus is that it is not case sensitive, which means if you go to a directory and you make a file like readme.txt, all lowercase, readme.txt, and you make another file, all uppercase, readme.txt, those are actually the same file. On every other file system that I've ever used, as far as I can remember, that is not the case, right? If I go to my Windows machine, I can make a file that's scott.txt with a capital S or internet.txt with a capital I and a totally separate file, internet.txt with a lowercase I. And those will be two separate files that are not the same file in any way, which is pretty important when you're programming something, right? If you're programming file names into your code or in your settings for your, code's going to use, you got to put file names in there, right? And they got to be the right file name. Otherwise, the wrong file is going to get opened if there's two different files with, only thing differentiating their names being the case of the letters in
Now,
them.
the counterpoint I usually see is people arguing that in practice...
You shouldn't be putting two files in the same directory with the same name where only cases...
Yeah, if you ever have a file called internet.txt with a lowercase I and internet.txt with an uppercase I, and they're in the same directory...
You fucked up?
Yeah, there is a deep problem with you.
Maybe that's the case.
Yeah, but that was always the argument that they would assume that users of computers would never want to do something like that. So if you have a bunch of characters that are a file name, they assume that if you use a similar set of characters that differs only in case, you meant that file.
Well, that's bullshit. Everything should be case sensitive pretty much
Let's see,
always.
because I haven't thought about this a lot because
explicit is always better than implicit.
True, but I always think about this in terms of applications and keys and databases and that kind of stuff. But here, VFAT, FAT32, NTFS, HFS Plus, all case insensitive. Apparently NTFS, if you mount it in Unix, is case sensitive?
Yes.
But it's not case sensitive normally. Anyway,
interesting.
Yeah, I did some. Okay, I found a Wikipedia article and I found some links that are telling me things I didn't know about NTFS, so I got distracted.
Right. So the major problem here is that let's say somebody is working on a Mac, they're developer at my work, right?
Yep.
And they're writing some JavaScript or something, right? And in their JavaScript code, they write something like include myfile.js, and in their code they write all lowercase myfile.js. But actually, when they make the file, they make it like myfile.js with some camel case, uppercase M, uppercase F.
See, now I would already feel, not talking about specific technology, that if I'm referring to a name of a library, it should never be case sensitive.
Right, but so on their computer, that totally works, right? Because myfile.js is myfile.js on a Mac with HFS Plus.
Yep.
And then you give that code to someone else to run on this Linux server in production. And what happens? File not found, myfile.js. No such file.
Wait, HFS Plus is listed as both case sensitive and case insensitive.
That is correct. Because in fact, if you are extremely wise, you can actually flip a little blip and make it case sensitive and fix everything. However,
does that break other things?
it breaks two things. Number one, every single OS X application that you try to use, because the default is case insensitive. Every OS X application that you try to use that is basically not ever thinking that the file system will be case sensitive is now going to break. So anything that's not coded extremely well for your Mac will just not work. So good luck changing that setting in any realistic scenario where you actually want to run software.
Oh, right, Riser. I forgot about that. Didn't he kill his wife or something?
Yeah, something weird. Don't use that. That's dead.
No, because so whoever
the other problem being, try to flip that before OS X installs and rewrites. It's like you can't flip the switch early enough. By the time you flip the switch, OS X is already installed, and all these case insensitive files are already there.
See, at least if that were an option in Unix, like you have full control. Like you can bootstrap your own stupid system if you want.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly how. I'm sure like you can flip it after the fact somehow, but good luck with that.
So you want to have some extra fun? This I think I mentioned this once in GeekNights before, but this is I don't even know what would happen in the file system. So what if I in HFS made a file that used the Turkish eye instead of a normal eye?
Yeah, Unicode is another big reason that we shouldn't make things case insensitive, right?
Well, actually, if you make
uppercase I and lowercase I are just two different Unicode characters. What's uppercase? There's no such thing, right? From the perspective of bits in a file name.
But there's a bunch of different uppercase and lowercase
now you're
I's.
basically.
So if I write code in Turkish, will it now not work if the libraries are named different
This is what I'm saying. What is uppercase and lowercase is from a computer's perspective, right? You're basically just saying, apply this flag to any of these Unicode characters, and they map to these other Unicode characters. So for the purposes of looking at file names only, consider these 26 Unicode characters to be the same as these other 26 Unicode characters. All other Unicode characters are unique, except these 26 are the same as those 26 with a one-to-one mapping. And it's like, why are you putting that nonsense exception in there? Just make it a file name is a string of Unicode characters that are unique.
My file name has an uppercase 1, so I guess the exclamation point.
Right, exactly, right? You wouldn't do that. That's nonsense, right?
But at the same time, so all right, because if you're doing the uppercase, lowercase thing, then again, the Turkish I, the dot I and not dot I are different. So if I uppercase a dot I, it's an uppercase I with a dot on it.
I mean, of all people, Linus Torvalds has like you can find he has many rants, right? He has a rant about this, basically talking about HFS Plus is the worst piece of garbage on earth. And as is often the case when he gives these kinds of technological rants, he is A, mostly right, and B, half the words are him saying stupid, moron, stupid,
so I
idiot,
suspect a little bit of bias,
et cetera.
I suspect there's an interesting the tone of the words in the Wikipedia article about HFS Plus, which I'm looking at because I don't know a lot about HFS.
Well, to see who wrote
those. Due to the age of HFS Plus, several features that are currently considered staples of modern file systems like ZFS or RiserFS are not present.
That's true.
Which is true. Apparently,
HFS Plus is a garbage file system.
Let's see, nanosecond timestamps are not there.
Nope.
Which actually could be a problem. Actually, that concurrent access.
It's basically an old file.
Checksumming, snapshotting. Okay.
Imagine if Windows barely updated, instead of making NTFS, they had made FAT64, and then they just stuck with that.
Okay, so
until today,
it does not have proper hard linking. But are there modern use cases for true hard links? Really?
Yes. But the point is that name one.
Yeah, for a proper fully compliant hard link, in the B tree or whatever the file system uses.
Because some application, I have a file, right? And I want to put the file in someone's home folder, for example. But I also want the file to be in var www, say, for example, so that a different application can look at it.
And you don't want to just put a symlink in var www pointing back?
Well, because maybe a symlink isn't going to work, right? Because symlinks aren't really, they're not true links.
Yeah,
but a hard link will totally get the job done.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that there is absolutely no reason I can see why they can't just ship the next version of OS X with ext4 or ZFS or any Unix file. It's just OS X is just Unix. You can use any Unix file system. It's open source. There's already a bunch of open source stuff in OS X. It probably would be minimal labor to just ship OS X with any modern file system, except for the issue of there's probably a lot of software out there that will break when the file system becomes case sensitive.
Which makes it the opposite of a minor problem with trivial effort.
I think that you just, everyone who actually has a program that people still use can just fix their bugs and it'll be done.
So Microsoft developers, .NET people, have complained forever about the file path, file name limitations. even though modern file systems you can have very, very, very long paths and file names, for all intents and purposes, like any software you run in Windows or write in Windows, like you just won't work if your path gets too long.
Yep.
So shit'll break randomly. Microsoft has said unequivocally they will never address it because the cost of figuring out all the things it'll break and dealing with that is not worth them even considering. They will never remove that limitation. So this is probably going to be in that same boat.
Yeah.
Until they pull a Windows and switch from, HFS to some fundamentally different file system.
They could first of all, you could do it in iOS because, right, it doesn't even matter in iOS. There's no files.
They could make their own custom file system that had a way to handle legacy applications.
Why write a file system? Someone already wrote like the best file systems ever for free. Why would you write one? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, they'll take it and fork it or something nonsense like that.
That's like...
I mean, I'm saying what I think is going to happen is the people who care about this will be mad and nothing will change in the foreseeable future.
No, nothing's going to change. I'm just saying is that this is a thing that's a big problem that people don't even know. And the only people who argue that file systems should be case insensitive are bad and dumb.
Yep. Now, you can argue that like certain key... Like
as Linus Torvalds would say, they're stupid.
A key field in a database you might want to make case insensitive, and you might have a good reason for that, but that's not a file system. File system's like the underlying infrastructure of your storage. That is, you don't want to have implicit assumptions about that.
The only times you want things to be case insensitive is like up at the user interface level. Like someone searches for like dog, it's like, yeah, you want to return results if someone typed it, if the the article has a capital dog.
Or
right?
like say you have a system
but
where
anything below the user interface level, you want case sensitivity perfectly for everything because that's computers dealing with that. They need to be explicit.
Well, plus, also, anything that's human readable shouldn't be your key. Your key should be some UID or some nonsense on the back end. Like it's not. So yeah, like say you want to make a report. Your system, you're writing reports. No one wants to name a report internet with an uppercase I and internet with a lowercase I. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
And the patrons for this episode of Geek Nights, in order of the amount of money that they give us on a continuing basis, as long as they give us at least more than $5, is Rebecca Dunn, Nicholas Brandow, Alan Joyce, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, James David White, Christian, at least I'm not named after my dad Kuntz, Jess, MyStady.com, Mechanical Mind, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner, Spartacus, Joshiro Joestar, Tyler Ellers, Scott John Harrison, Sean Yeager, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Robert Lee, Ryan Perrin, Drew Openlander, Rare Lavelle, Brian Citroni, Rochelle Montanona, Finn Eric Solverot, Kent Melt Steel Beams, Kinetic Man, Aaron Cerise, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Flame Darkfire, Sam Cordery, Daniel Redmond, Chris Haddad, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. And I will point out there is a surprising number of additional people who choose not to have their name read at the end, but are donating above that threshold. More than one of you is donating $6.66, which I think is funny. But yes, we're back from ZenkaiCon, back from Anime Boston. We got a few weeks before PAX East, so the Patreon content is going to expand mightily the next few weeks. And I've decided, because at least as I look right now, if you look at the front end number, we're just shy of that first stretch goal of me remastering and re-releasing, well, I guess releasing all of the pre-Geek Nights launch beta episodes, some of which none of you have ever heard for sure. I'm sure most of you never heard them. But I think what I'll do, because the actual amount of money you're pledging is well above what that threshold was set to, it's just that Patreon changed the way they count the submission money and everything. I think I'm just going to take the first ever episode of Geek Nights, the one we did as a test, the first time we ever did anything before we did real Geek Nights, with the Logitech Stick microphone. I'm going to take that, remaster it, and put it up on the Patreon for you guys to hear. And I'm sure I'll have some interesting commentary once I listen to that. So I'm going to do that this week. And now I leave you with something kind of weird.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, till the very next day, bum, 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 ba-dum, when the duck walked up to the lemonade stand, and he said to the man running the stand, hey, bum, 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 got any grapes? The man said, no, like I said yesterday, we just sell lemonade, okay? Why not give it a try? The duck said, goodbye. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle.